All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott with the 19th and final PowerPoint presentation from Murex MySQL 2nd edition, the book that will be used for the online 152-147 Relational Database Development class for the spring 2016 semester at Blackhawk Technical College. Chapter 19 is on how to back up and restore a database. Remember, these last three chapters, there's no homework assigned from these. These are just designed to show you some of the stuff that you might go through if you were a database administrator. So we learned to back up a database, restore a database, do importing and exporting, and there's a little bit more to it almost than what was discussed in the chapter. Check tables for possible corruption and try to repair them. Distinguish between full backups and incremental backups, and distinguish between tab delimited files and comma delimited files. All right. So, notice what they talk about here. All right. It says a strategy for backing up databases versus a strategy for restoring databases. Well, backing up a database, typically, MySQL provides for two different types of backup. A full backup, which is what you use mysqldump for, which means you'll back up everything. And there's also an incremental backup that you can do, which says just back it up since the last time it's been backed up. All right. The goal of backing up a database is you want to be able to restore the database to its exact point in a specified point in time. That's also known as PITR, or point in time recovery. To restore a database to a point in time, you can use the last full backup. All right. Then you can add to that a binary log to restore the database from the time of the last backup till that point in time. And that's what they're talking about here. All right. So terms to know. Again, a full backup includes the structure and content of the database. Of course, it would be important to perform full backups on a regular type of schedule or regular basis. Incremental backups, they only contain changes that have been made to the structure and content since the last full backup. And again, point-in-time recovery allows you to restore the data up to any specified point in time. All right, I'm not going to worry about changing bin directories and the like. Again, I just want to talk about some of the options here. This minus database basis identifies the databases that you want to back up. If you put minus all minus databases, that backs up every database. If you put minus single minus transaction, that guarantees that the data seen by MySQL dump does not change. Minus routines includes any stored routines and functions. Minus events includes events. And minus flush minus logs causes MySQL to create a new binary log file. They show you some stuff here for MySQL dump. And, there are advantages to using MySQL dump. Okay? It's fairly automated, but you can automate it even more than it is. All right. But it's not exactly that it's turnkey, but I actually have backed up databases with this and used the minus all and just backed up everything. All right. And then just given it basically a file where I want it to go. Okay, something like this. Right here. They do mention toward the bottom of page 530, if you attempt to execute MySQL dump, you might get an error saying that access is denied. Again, normally if you do that, you can start the command prompt as an administrator. So again, you right-click on the icon and you select the Run as Administrator. It's also possible that you could have a firewall, and the firewall could attempt to block the MySQL dump program, but typically it's something that you can, for lack of better words, get around. So they give you a script that are part of an SQL script here that's shown on page 533 for a database backup. The script starts with some comments and gives some general information about the backup, but it goes through the steps, and again, you have to realize you don't key this in. This is the thing that's basically going to end up being created for you when you run the mysqldump command. All right, some extra advanced options that you can use as shown in the table on page 537, minus, add, drop, table. For each table, add a statement that drops the table before it recreates it. Minus, add, locks. For each table, surround the insert statement with statements that lock and unlock the table. Again, this is all being done both for security, all right, reasons, optimization reasons, protection reasons. Minus, disable, keys. For each table, insert the statements that disable and enable keys. Minus, comments would include comments in the script. Minus, quote, names will enclose names with backticks. We talked about backticks in some of the other lectures. Minus, create, options includes all MySQL specific options in the create table statements. Minus, compact creates a more compact SQL script that includes only the statements needed to back up the database. Minus, compress uses compression in server client protocol. Minus, delete, master, logs deletes all binary log files after performing a dump. And minus, force tells you to continue, even if MySQL should encounter an error. So that's one that should be used really with caution. If you want to disable an option, you can say minus, skip, minus, and then whatever that option is. All right, then as far as restoring the database after you've backed it up, as you can see here, this is taken from page 539. You can use the MySQL program to restore a full backup of one or more databases. Before you restore a database from a script file, it's considered a good idea to back up the existing database. That way, when you do the restore, if it doesn't work correctly, you can restore the database at least back to its previous state. You can also use MySQL Workbench with some of this stuff. Some of the options that can be used when you're working to try to take a binary file and convert it over to a text file. The first one here identifies the database. The second one identifies the starting date and time. And the third one identifies the ending date and time. They show you some stuff in here that after you run it, this is an example of what's going to happen and what it's going to look like. So occasionally, at least, the binary log may contain statements that you really don't want to execute. So if you convert this file to a text file, you can edit the text file and either comment out or remove those statements that you don't want. The next thing that's discussed here is importing and exporting data. Now, they don't really talk about it too much in here, because when they talk about exporting data to a file, but I've used this before to take a MySQL database table and convert it over to a spreadsheet so that you're able to use it. Whereas I've also used the import feature where I've grabbed a spreadsheet and converted it into a MySQL table. So you can go both ways. You can also work with tab delimited files, comma delimited files, etc. when you're doing this. So here's an example of a tab delimited file rather. So the file looks like this. You run it, the program, and then it ends up looking like this. So again, not only can you export, you can import. All right. They talk here about the load data statement, and that statement can be used to load data from an input file into a table. Okay. Okay, and they show an example right here. All right, next is the check table statement. And what's important about the check table statement is it works for both InnoDB and MyISAM tables. With the inclusion of MySQL 5.0, and we're at 5.6, the statement also works for views. All right, some of the options that you can use are shown here with the check table. Extended does a full scan of each row. This ensures that the table is 100% consistent, but it's time consuming. In other words, it's not going to happen in a matter of seconds. Medium does an average scan of each row. This is the default for a MyISAM table. Quick does a quick scan of the rows. Fast checks only the tables that have not been closed properly. Changed checks only the tables that have been changed since the last check or that have not been closed properly. And for upgrade, checks whether the tables are compatible with the current version of MySQL. So what we're talking about here, all right, what we're talking about is wanting to be able to, we've had a problem with one or more tables. And what we're saying is what we want to do here is we want to be able to check those tables, and if there is a problem with them, we want to be able to repair those tables. Here are examples: checking a single table, multiple tables, and one that uses one of the options. So the example that you see at the top of the slide here shows how to use the repair table if you want to repair a MyISAM table. All right. It's different if you want to repair an InnoDB table. Remember the differences between these are two different storage engines. The MyISAM, if you make tables MyISAM, if you use the engine MyISAM, then you cannot repeat, then you cannot use you cannot use foreign keys with them. You can only use foreign keys with an engine type of InnoDB. But with MyISAM, you can do more enhanced searching than you can do with InnoDB. If you want to try to repair an InnoDB table as shown here on page 551, it's a three-step process. You use a text editor to add the system variable InnoDB force recovery equal 4. You then restart the server, use the mysqldump program to back up the database, and then you remove this recovery variable, restart the server, and restore it, and try to restore as much data as you possibly can. Some of the options that are shown here: the -- extended is like the extended for check table. The -- medium check is like the medium for check table. The - quick is like the quick for check table. The - fast is like the fast for check table. The - check - only - changed is like the changed for check table. And the - check - upgrade is like the for upgrade for check table. Here are some examples. All right, and again, you can - extended check, etc. Like extended, like medium, like quick, like fast, like changed, and there isn't one that's equivalent to that in the check. Okay, so you're going to find different options depending on the type of engine you're using, and the type of table that you're working with. That pretty much finishes the chapter. And again, we have now gone through all 19 of the PowerPoint chapters.